Hey, it's Jensen. I wouldn't say that 2016 was necessarily a bad year for me. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I found myself in a better position in life than 2015. Such examples is that I learned how to French kiss with a girl the first week of 2016. Yeah, that happened. And I survived my first year in college with a 4.0 GPA. How often does that happen? I learned how to navigate the LA metro system. And quite frankly, it is very, very inconvenient. Quite time consuming. I created new and everlasting friendships in college. People that I never knew had the same type of mindset as I did. They all had this weird and adventurous side to them that mixed so blendly with my personality in terms of just being everywhere. It was like salt and pepper mixed together so perfectly, and now I finished my first half of my second year in college. But I'm only humble bragging. All of the awesome things that I've said and done in 2016 is nothing compared to how much rejections and how deep my depression was. It was like banging your head against the wall, and the wall being 9-inch thick of metal with thorns on it. It was so bad that I had grown accustomed to the rejection itself. However, in that darkness, I had learned to seek a better version of myself, something that not a lot of people tend to do. For starters, I learned how to talk to strangers, not just people of the opposite sex, but rather random people in my day-to-day life that I've never really met in my entire life. No, it doesn't mean asking for someone about what the time was or how the weather is, or asking for directions for the nearest coffee shop. It's more like sharing stories about passions and wants and things that they want to do in life, things that people regretted to do, because to me that is how I get to know someone on a deeper level. And that person also happened to be a random person, and in that moment of shared stories, I've found myself in a small part sharing my own intimate stories, such as kissing a 6-foot volleyball player, and shared stories of griefs and breakup with another individual that I never really thought was possible. And in that decision to go out and meet new people, it was a start to my road of personal development, and that itself just kept me going higher and higher and higher. And then eventually the sadness that I once felt seemed so far away. Now, I'm not saying that I was sad the whole time, but I just felt like I was missing something. As a result, I also have found myself reinforcing dying friendships and relationships that I thought had no light in them. And I cut off toxic relationships that never really benefited me or them. Friends that I used to call friends were no longer there, and strangers that were once strangers replaced them and became my newfound friends. I began to read books such as Way of Superior Man and Mark Manson, looking at the concepts of the great perhaps and asking to myself, what is my great perhaps? And in that momentum of shared life, I'd eventually made my way to the parties and rave scene that made me appreciate life even more. You see, here's the thing about trying to find your better self, is that you can do it any time in the year. Just because natural events started happening doesn't mean your life should be too. In my darkness, I found ways to keep myself afloat, to keep me gratified despite having those sleepless nights, staring at my ceiling and thinking to myself, I can do better. 2016 was a good year for me. It wasn't the greatest, but it was good enough, because it meant that I had to get out of my comfort zone and because I had to be vulnerable. Now, I'm not saying I'm happier or healthier than I was last week. I could say that I'm more satisfied and content with the things I've done, with the risks I've taken, and in that process, I was enjoying and sharing moments and memories with friends and people who I cared about the most. And with that, I can peacefully say goodbye to 2016. I'll see you guys next time.